Resurrection, the great mystery. Mel Gibson and the cinematic journey into the rising of Christ when cinema touches eternity. There are films made merely to entertain. There are films crafted to shock, to profit, or to leave an artistic footprint. But there are also films that become spiritual gateways, where art and faith intertwine, where audiences do not simply watch, but fall into reverent silence.
Why are your hearts so slow to believe?
In 2004, The Passion of the Christ by Mel Gibson achieved exactly that. Hundreds of millions of viewers around the globe sat before the screen in tears, feeling as if they themselves were standing beneath the cross. The film was not only cinema, but a global religious experience. 20 years later, Gibson returns with a new project, The Resurrection of Christ. If The Passion was a cinematic book of suffering, then The Resurrection promises to be a symphony of hope. Yet how can one depict the most mysterious event in Christian history? An event that surpasses imagination itself. Gibson has revealed shocking details and perspectives that make audiences shudder. This article takes you into that journey from the perspective of scripture, history, and art to the supernatural vision Gibson longs to portray. This is not merely the story of a film, but a meditation on the greatest mystery of all. Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ is among us today. Mel Gibson, the filmmaker and the pilgrim. An artist of controversy, Mel Gibson is no stranger to Hollywood. He was once the star of action blockbusters, Mad Max: Lethal Weapon, and an Oscar-winning director with Braveheart. Yet he is also a man scarred by scandals of alcoholism, violence, and controversial statements. At the seeming nadir of his career, Gibson emerged as a pilgrim, pouring his soul into making The Passion of the Christ. That film transformed his public image from a rebellious actor into a storyteller of faith. When art becomes prayer. In numerous interviews, Gibson confessed, "I didn't make The Passion just to make a movie. I made it as penance, as prayer." That is why every frame of The Passion bleeds with suffering and tears, yet never descends into exploitation. It feels like a liturgy of images. With The Resurrection, Gibson is even more conscious he is not merely shooting a film, but stepping onto holy ground. This is no longer cinema alone, but a global retreat through art. Resurrection, the mystery of history and eternity. Resurrection, the core of the gospel. Without the resurrection, the cross is nothing more than the tragic death of a prophet. But with the resurrection, the cross becomes the tree of life. As St. Paul boldly declared, "If Christ has not been raised, our preaching is in vain and your faith is in vain." 1 Cor 15:14. In other words, the resurrection is the hinge of human history. It is not merely an event 2,000 years ago, but the light that illuminates the entire flow of the universe. Resurrection, the cinematic challenge. Unlike The Passion, which can be depicted with blood whips and tangible images, the resurrection transcends the senses. No one witnessed the exact moment Christ rose. All they saw was an empty tomb and encounters afterward. How then do you film an event no one saw? How do you move audiences, not just to see with their eyes, but to tremble in their souls? Gibson remarked, "My challenge is to make audiences feel what Scripture calls glory, not merely to watch a dead man rise." Mel Gibson's shocking revelations. A new look at the 3 silent days. Gibson does not wish to tell only the Easter morning story. He focuses especially on the time between Friday and Sunday, the so-called Holy Saturday. This is the day the Creed proclaims he descended to the dead. Gibson has suggested that the film will open realms rarely imagined, Christ entering the domain of death, shattering the gates of hell, raising Adam, Eve, and the prophets. This is not only cinema, but a vivid portrayal of 2,000 years of theological tradition from east to west. Apocalyptic imagery. According to him, the resurrection will not simply stage a few encounters. It will unfold in an almost apocalyptic style with light symbols and visions that transcend space and time. Gibson wants viewers to feel as though they have stepped through a door into eternity. A controversial
New
perspective.
day has come.
Some scholars worry Gibson might imagine too far. Yet this is precisely what makes the project compelling. It will not be a mere duplication of the Gospels, but a meditation in images where art and theology collide, from film set to altar. Cinema as liturgy, many have described. The Passion as a visual mass. With the resurrection,
That
this
light.
comparison is even stronger.
It's not from the
The
sun.
film is not only to be watched, but to be participated in. The audience will no longer stand outside, but be drawn into the very mystery. A global resonance. Today's world is rife with wars, crises, and anxiety. The message of resurrection life stronger than death is more urgent than ever. This film could become a lighthouse of hope, especially for a generation wandering in darkness.
The promise
The message of
still
Mel Gibson
echoes.
and the resurrection. Art as mission. Gibson once said, if even one person returns to faith because of the film, then all the effort is worth it. This is his uniqueness. Gibson does not create for Oscars or revenue, but for a calling. Resurrection today. Resurrection is not just a story from 2,000 years ago. It is a call to each of us today, even in the night of sickness or despair, dawn awaits. Even as the world collapses in chaos, there is still an empty tomb, proving evil will not prevail. A personal invitation. Ultimately, the film confronts every viewer with a question. Do you believe the one who rose can also transform your life? Art, faith, and the light of dawn. The Passion of the Christ revealed to the world the power of sacrificial love. The resurrection of Christ will reveal the power of triumphant love. Mel Gibson, through his own personal trials, is becoming a storyteller of faith. He demonstrates that cinema, when placed in God's hands, can become a global liturgy. And above all, he reminds us, resurrection is not merely an event in history, but an eternal heartbeat in the soul of humanity. The biblical and theological backdrop
Every
of
step
resurrection.
is a prayer.
The empty tomb, the symbol of reversal. In every gospel account, no one saw the exact moment Christ rose. What they saw was the empty tomb.
He still
This
lives
paradoxical
in every
sign,
brushstroke.
emptiness, becomes fullness. Mary Magdalene came to mourn, but heard her name called. Peter and John ran and saw folded linens. The silence of the tomb rang like a song. Death has lost. Cinema thrives on imagery, but here the emptiness itself becomes the climax. Gibson must craft the scene so that audiences feel not lack, but invisible explosion through light music and the faces of witnesses. The appearances from fear to mission.
is a prayer.
The risen Christ did not appear as a mighty God, but humbly walking with disciples to Emmaus, eating grilled fish, calling Mary by name. The message is clear. Resurrection does not shatter the ordinary, but saturates it. Gibson has hinted he wants to capture this nearness, so audiences feel Christ is not distant, but among them. At the theology of Silent Saturday. For centuries, the Church has pondered Holy Saturday, the day God was silent. Yet that silence was not abandonment, but God at work in the depths, Christ descending into the abyss to bring light to the unimaginable.
Begins in the void.
Gibson revealed he wants to include this descent. No film has dared to portray it directly.
Resurrection.
Images of hell's gates breaking chains, shattering, could become both cinematic climax and living theology. Symbolic artistry in Gibson's cinema. Color and light. In The Passion, Gibson used darkness, red blood, and
Even
storms to
silence
depict pain.
knows how to pray.
In The Resurrection, he envisions overwhelming light. Not technical light, but apocalyptic radiance, touching not just the eyes, but the soul. Biblical symbols, famous for embedding symbols.
Hope is born.
Gibson may use grain sprouting life from death. Dawn resurrection as light chasing night, water and fire.
With my heart.
Baptism and the spirit fruits of resurrection. Table the disciples' meal as the Eucharist
Where
enduring
I
to
am.
today. A music as prayer.
There is life.
The score of The Passion. By John Debney became iconic. For the resurrection, Gibson desires music as liturgy, a sonic prayer drawing viewers into participation. Social and religious impact.
Every
An age of
page
faith crisis.
is a miracle.
Today, many young people drift from the church, dismissing faith as past relic. The world drowns in consumerism, social media wars, and mental collapse. A film like The Resurrection is
There
not
is
just
no night
retelling, but awakening.
that does not end.
It proclaims that hope never expires. A miracle of art. Perhaps the very fact that Hollywood dares to portray resurrection is itself a miracle. Hollywood is often associated with violence, lust, and atheism. Yet here a sacred work resounds like a bell in the marketplace. Testimonies from beyond Christianity, when non-believers watched the Passion. Many wept not out of belief, but sensing unconditional love. With the resurrection, Gibson hopes not only believers but outsiders will feel summoned. If death is
Every
not the
flame
end,
is
then
a
why
word
do
of
I
faith.
live? Mel Gibson's own spiritual journey. From darkness to light, Gibson admits he lived in shadows, addiction scandal, loneliness. Yet in that darkness, he rediscovered traditional Catholic faith. For him, making films about Christ is not work, but healing. Art as confession. The Passion was a public confession. The Resurrection is a hymn of praise. One shows pain, the other glory.
We live by love.
Gibson seems to say, Christ did not only die for me, he rose for me. A storyteller of faith. Amid the noise of Hollywood, Gibson is remarkable. Not for handsome stardom, but for daring to be a narrator of faith. He fears neither criticism nor exile, as long as the gospel is proclaimed. The message for humanity. Resurrection in personal life. The film is not only to be watched, but lived. Each of us carries a Friday pain, a Saturday silence, and a Sunday dawn. Audiences will realize resurrection is not only Christ's, but theirs. The call to step out of the tomb. Today's tomb may be addiction, despair, hatred, or loneliness. Resurrection is when the stone rolls away and freedom begins. The film thus becomes a call to rise here and now.
No death.
The future is no longer void. Because of resurrection, humanity's destiny is not a black hole of nothingness, but the banquet of heaven. Every small kindness, every forgiveness, every sacrifice is a seed of eternity. When art becomes revelation, the resurrection of Christ is not merely a sequel to the Passion.
I am the way.
It is the grand finale where pain is transfigured into glory,
and the life.
despair into hope. Mel Gibson has chosen the hardest path to portray Christianity's holiest mystery on screen. But precisely because it is hard, it can shake millions of hearts.
Begins with faith.
And in the end, the film, like the resurrection itself, leaves each of us with the question, do you believe that light can conquer the darkness within your own life? For resurrection is not only a story of 2,000 years ago, but a heartbeat echoing in every soul today.